Good day, and welcome to yet another exciting edition of the Real Estate Circuit, Nigeria's premier real estate TV show. My name is Nonso Esq, your host, and today I have a very interesting and exciting young lady in the studio with me as our guest for today. She's also an active player in the real estate sector. When we return from a very short break, I'll be introducing today's guest, an exciting, brilliant, and exceptional young woman who is quite active in the real estate sector. Do not go away. We'll be right back after a very short break. Stay put.
Hello, and welcome to Taste Buds.
If you love food, then we've got you covered. Taste Buds, the show that takes you on a culinary adventure across the globe. Talented chefs and cooks give you an insight into delicious dishes that will get your taste buds tingling.
Oh, Lord.
Catch it Saturdays at 7 p.m. only on R2 TV.
Welcome back. It's still the Real Estate Circuit, and I'm Nonso Esq, your host. I'm quite passionate about women, young women who are doing exceptionally well in their various chosen fields. In the studio with me today is a young lady, very brilliant, very active in real estate, taking after her father, the first family generational real estate business that I am saying. Very interesting because you see a clear succession plan playing out. In the studio with me today is a young lady, Tolu Dima-Okojie. Tolu holds a first-class degree from Covenant University in Estate Management. She also holds a master's from the prestigious Imperial College, London in Management, alongside a diploma in Entrepreneurship from the same Imperial College. Young, vibrant real estate player, wife, mother, very ebullient young woman. Join me in welcoming Tolu Dima-Okojie. Tolu, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Impressive, impressive. First class in estate management. I have to clap. No, quite impressive. That's when I meet young women like you, I am inspired, I'm encouraged. Career, wife, mother, daughter.
It's not easy.
But you're the true epitome of work-life balance. And on top of it, you made a first class from school.
Yes, ma'am.
You should be a mentor to a lot of young women.
I'm doing the best I can, I think.
Exceptional.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tolu's career spans from, she had worked as a brand manager with Unilever, both here in Nigeria and in South Africa, before returning to join the family business, also in estate management. Tolu, tell me, what has it been like being a lady realtor? What has been your experience as a woman in the real estate sector that is male-dominated and male-owned?
Exactly. So, thank you very much for having me on the show. I must say it's been an interesting experience being a lady realtor, basically, because, like you rightly said, it's male-dominated. The challenges really are that people are wondering, do you really understand what you're talking about? I mean, I know a man does this usually, right? Are you sure you're not boring into this, sector? Are you... what happened? It's almost like I have to almost give like a CV of where I'm coming from and why I know what I know. So it's been challenging, but it's also interesting. It's been
great.
Interesting.
Why did you decide on the study estate management? Was it because of your father or you had a passion? What was it?
It's really a marriage of both. So growing up, I'm the first child of my father. So I used to hear him talk about property. I would go with him to some meetings, to some construction sites. He was in the government at the time, and I just really got interested. What is this all about? And it used to fascinate me on how from nothing, you could have a 10-story building and how to manage it, dealing with people. I love talking to people. I'm really very excited about talking to people and helping people find solutions to their problems. I saw my father working in the government sector, really saying that, look, public sector is about public service, meaning helping people. And so he put in a human face to me from for the government. I have people, I walk into some places and before I was married, I would say my last name and they'll say, oh, thank God, you know, because of your father, I have a home today, you know, and all that. So it really got me passionate about, you know, real estate and all that. So I was going to dabble into one or two other things, but at the point I just said, you know what, I like this thing, I understand it. It's almost like ingrained in me. I'm just going to run with it because I find excitement in it. And that's how I got into real estate.
You know, interestingly, you have an edge above some other lady realtors like myself. You know, some of us, we call ourselves the accidental realtors because you have a prior formal education background in estate management.
Correct.
Do you think it had given you any advantage?
I can't lie, definitely several advantages. First, it's like before I went to my before I went for my BSc, I already knew the meaning of several things. Like I understood the scope of buying and selling, demand and supply, you know, litigation, contracts and all that. So I can't say that didn't help. Then also in terms of listening in on conversations, following my father for a lot of things, you know, there's just some things that becomes a part of you. So naturally when I got into school, I also had the target. I had a personal target for myself that I wanted to graduate, not necessarily top of my class, but I just wanted to graduate with a certain CGPA. And so I'm a very planned, I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I had my structure, I already knew what courses I wanted to graduate in what course and all of that. So it was kind of systematic for me because my father had also trained me about you need to have a system, you need to have a plan, and once you have a plan, a goal, you know, what are the steps to take towards that. So I think that just made it easier for me. Where I found people struggling, it was almost like, I don't understand why you're struggling with this. Is it not this simple? But, you know, people had said, look, I think it's helping that you have some background in there, so I had to appreciate that. So yes, it's really helped. It has helped, I must confess.
So what are your core competence areas? Sales, leases, brokerage, facility management. What are your core competence areas since you joined the family firm?
Okay. So my core competency is, I would say, in two things, in project management and in valuation. I'm also pretty strong in what we call agency, which is sales and letting, but I feel like, you know, a lot of people do that.
It's an all-comers
Exactly.
game.
So I don't like to say, look, I'm good at that because it's almost assumed that, oh, are you not agents? But beyond that, we do two other things. Project management, because I'm also goal-oriented. I know how to fashion out what are the steps to lead to this. If I want to be here at this time, at what time do I need to take off? What do I need to put in place? So that kind of helps in, you know, the construction industry because for me, as an Estate Surveyor and Valuer, I think I stand as an independent expert in the construction industry, so I can give feedback to both, you know, my colleagues in construction as well as the client who is the one that initiates a project.
Quite interesting to hear an estate surveyor say that her core competence is not agency, because I see a lot of estate surveyors veering and going towards valuation more. I understand there was, maybe in the past few years, one of the annual seminars the NIESV had, it was like, have they lost valuation? Have they lost the agency arm of the business? You know, because a lot of people, lawyers are doing it, even people who are not lawyers, almost as if the entry barrier to be a real estate agent, there's no entry barrier, low entry barrier. Correct. You don't even need any qualification. It's just for you to know who has something to sell or lease and who wants to buy or rent, and you bring the two of them together and you're in business. Do you think that that industry needs to be better regulated? Or do you people plan to leave it as an all-comers game?
No, we do not plan to leave it.
So what are the plans?
You really summarized what it is. The entry to the barrier to entry is pretty low, and that's because of our legislation in this country. You don't have that in other parts of the world, especially developed countries, where you have to sit for exams, you have to study. If you did study it before, you can say you're a realtor. But here, for some reason, it was excluded when the act enacting the profession was put into law. So that's why it looks like somewhere along the line, other people realized no one is stopping me from doing this. But I must confess that at some point, a lot of our clients would say, look, I do have people who call themselves agents that work, act on my behalf. But, you know, when you handle it, you give professional advice. You know, you give advice beyond the immediate buying or selling.
Or
I like to look, exactly. I like to look at the future. I always tend to advise people, like, what exactly is your property portfolio goal? It's not just about, I have money now, let me quickly buy it. I always like to look at the big picture, the long-term plan. what exactly are we working towards? Is it for investment? Is it for retirement? Is it for, having a sustainable?
So
what exactly
a
is the
complete real
plan?
estate portfolio optimization
Exactly.
service. Okay.
So it's more like, let's look at the long-term goal, not short-term goal, and how we handle, such transactions, whether it's a lease or sale. I think it really shows the difference between those of us that actually had to study for it and some of us that have
just emergency
exactly
renters.
finished that industry. So I like to think that we've not lost it. Those are people who decide to pay for professional service to get the professional service.
Services rendered.
Exactly. But
tell me, as a wife, as a mother, as a realtor, as a surveyor, you have been in the real estate sector and you have schooled in England. How do you see property ownership by women in Nigeria vis-a-vis the other countries?
Yes, that's...
How many of your clients are women? Are women really buying properties?
Women are, but not as not in large numbers. We have a very small percentage of people purchasing actually being women. Not to say that they're not there, but not in the majority.
Why are women not really buying?
I think this has to do with quite a few things. There's the cultural aspect. Some people marry that religion, and then there's sometimes the law as well. So let me take it from the beginning. So for most people, culturally, there's a thing about, I appreciate the headship of a man, but in submitting, some of us feel that we can't own property, or it's almost like I'm competing with my husband. The dynamics of the marriage is important, and the culture where you're coming from. I mean, take for instance, there's some cultures in Nigeria where women are not expected to inherit property. So it's almost like when you can't even inherit it, what are you buying? It's not something that...
But the Supreme Court has changed that. There was a recent Supreme Court judgment that has said that.
Correct.
Whether you're a male child or a female child, you have equal, access to inheritance.
That as it may be, there's also on ground. Do women actually realize this, believe this, know that they have the power? Can they actually go to going further from that? How many people come up to actually say, look, there's a case that has given me the power. Do I follow through with this? So
women just tend
women who are not aware,
walk away and leave it for their brothers. Yes.
What do I do if I find myself in this situation? It's almost like most people probably tell them, look, it's too difficult. That's the law. This is our village. This is our town. This is how it's done. So there's still a lot of, awareness, a lot of educating that needs to be done. You don't find most people telling women that, oh, are you interested? Oh, you've made a lump sum of money. Are you interested in purchasing real estate? It's almost like, why? Let me use it instead for education or for clothes or shopping or a business. That's what the mind naturally tends to go to as opposed to property side.
It worries me. It worries me in a society and a country where women are increasingly getting better education. Correct. Look at you. At your age, look at all the academic qualifications. So we are getting better education.
Correct.
We are earning better.
Yes.
We are climbing more in corporates, Nigeria, corporate everywhere in the world.
Yes. Becoming exposed, well-traveled.
Yes. And there is a statistics that shows that in the next decade, that women will become the second largest purchasing power block in the world.
Correct.
What are we buying? Clothes, shoes, gold? What are we buying really? Where's our earnings going to? Are we hiding behind culture and saying, oh, I'm a woman, we are not expected to. It's our husband's job. The man should do it. Are we hiding are we guilty of some of it? Or is it that it's really, really the society, the family, the culture, and our men that are holding us down? Do you think we are negligent in a way?
I think we all have a part to play.
Hold that thought.
We are negligent.
Once we come back from this short break, then you will tell me how you think that women are also culprits.
Okay,
Don't go away. We'll be back after a very short break. And Tolu will tell us how we think that women should not hide behind the men on why we are not buying properties. We'll be right back.
Hello, and welcome to Taste Buds.
If you love food, then we've got you covered. Taste Buds, the show that takes you on a culinary adventure across the globe. Talented chefs and cooks give you an insight into delicious dishes that will get your taste buds tingling.
Oh, Lord.
Catch it Saturdays at 7 p.m. only on R2 TV.
120 seconds. 2 lifelines. 5 runs, 5 passes, 1 winner.
Correct. Wrong.
Beat the Clock, showing 11:30 to 12:30 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Only on R2TV.
Where else can you get this kind of excitement?
To always be on top. My woman, my everything.
It's the bubble where everything gets exciting, giving you a street changer, affording you the opportunity to say it the way you think it is, as you tell us your view on issues and happenings in our society and how they affect you. Talk about Showcase, when we highlight certain issues, programs, and all what's not. It's so much on the bubble. Catch all the spellbounding, interesting, and educative talk on Footnote. And when we're done, we would rank it all up. And that's the point where you get to laugh. It's the bubble. Say what you want to say. It's a one-stop arena for everything called sports. A fusion of entertainment and unusual moments in the sports world. Whether it's a football season, an ATP tour in tennis, a heavyweight contest, or a Formula One Grand Prix. Exports, the show for the explosive sports lover. Learn from the world's top 10 on our countdowns. Know what and who is at the top of their game. Hear sport-loving fans on the street and feel their pulse. Get inspired as we unveil various sports legends. Feel the vibes on X Special and catch all of the amazing excitement. And on Sports Matters, get blown away by extraordinary moments. X Sports. Feel the fusion.
Welcome back to the show. It's still the Real Estate Circuit, Nigeria's premier real estate TV show. And I'm your host, Nonso. Still in the studio with me this morning is Tolu Dima-Okojie. And I was just asking Tolu, we hear it every day. The culture doesn't allow us, religious belief doesn't allow us, family needs don't allow us. We women, we have all the excuses why we are not on the property ladder. Is it true? Is it cultural? Is it belief? Is it religious? Or is there part of it? Is it part of our problems? What do you think? What's your take on it?
So my take is everyone has a part to play. So as women, we're responsible for me. As women, we're responsible for our own choices. I think we also have a hand in our own destinies, creating the future we want. But it's not to say that, you know, culture and society does not have an impact in some of these things. Take, for instance, a woman deciding that I want to buy real estate. And the situation comes up of, so is it in our name as husband and wife, or is it in your name, you know? And there are situations where, for instance, it's a situation of let's honor the man and all that, the headship, and I put it in his name. I had such a client now that has purchased it with her money, put it in his name, and now they're having a divorce. Who owns the property? Wow. Or a woman who has inherited property and sold hers to be able to fund the purchase of another home for the family. Incidentally, it was put in the husband's name and he divorced her. What happens? So sometimes we take actions that, you know, while we're trying to keep, and it's really tough. We're trying to keep the family, you know, the husband happy. You take some decisions that might not, you know, be helpful to you in the long run because you don't know the future. Mm-hmm. And we're very trusting and loving. Oh no, I'm just trying to make it all work out, but it doesn't always work out that way. So you can see how culture can play in you taking a decision that might not be in your best interest because you're trying to keep the home. So it's not easy, I have to confess.
But again, in my own experience, what I have also found is that women, we have very poor spending habits and purchasing habits.
True.
You know, we buy a lot of the wrong things, retail therapy, we are forever shopping.
Appreciating value.
You know, yes, and we turn around and we say, oh, it's a man's job. The society won't allow me. Religiously, they will frown at it. I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of this person or that person. You know, we spend money on so many things.
Correct.
You know, substantial amount of money that can actually put us on the property ladder.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes it's not just the men, it's not just the society. Sometimes it's also our own poor spending habit.
Correct.
That is actually also part of what is contributing to it. Let's go on to the issue of, as lady realtors, what has your experience been like when you're dealing with the men folk? What has the experience been like dealing with the men? Because men form the bulk of the buyers.
Okay, very correct. Okay, so I'll just digress a little to conclude on what you just said. We, as women, we don't understand, or we don't realize that even what we think is a little money goes a long way. So when a woman can put aside, say, 20,000 a month, you know, in 10 months, she has 200,000, you know, and she doesn't realize that this is something that can do, it goes a long way in buying property. Another problem I think women have a problem with is they always look at the higher end of the market. You know, it looks like if you don't have the house on 2 floors, you have not bought a house. What's wrong with buying a bungalow? What's wrong in buying a shop? You know, what's wrong in buying the little properties? Why must it always be the big thing? You know, there's this association that property must start with something big. You can buy a plot of land somewhere on the outskirts of Lagos.
And I think part of the problem is that Nigeria doesn't have a first-time home ownership base.
Correct.
But because there's no vibrant mortgage system.
Exactly.
By the time we are old enough to buy, we're in our 40s. We're a bit set in our ways. And at that time, you value things that, okay, now that I've arrived here, if I want to buy, I can no longer buy bungalow or mowe or shop. It has to be something that is, you know, upscale.
Exactly.
Because I'm a bit set in my ways. I think that's also part of it.
Very correct. And it's interesting, I've seen some of our clients actually starting off with properties. You know, when we call outskirts of Lagos now, I always marvel and tell people that Lekki 10, 15 years ago, I remember was a beach.
The first time I went to Jakodi so many years ago.
Exactly.
After they displaced them from Morocco.
Exactly, I remember.
I thought that, you know,
it was middle of nowhere.
That where are we going to? That we've left Lagos.
Exactly.
But I always tell clients that there is nowhere that is far, not in Lagos, in the world anymore. The world has become a global village.
Thank you.
There's no place that is far anymore. Yeah, so I tell them that.
It's understanding that. So just to close off on that, and then with dealing with the men folk, I think it takes wisdom, really takes wisdom and knowledge, because men are very interesting people, let's put it that way. And I think it's very important as a woman to know your boundaries, to be aware of your environment when dealing with men, so you don't find yourself in the wrong situation, and also being well informed, because it's expected that you don't know as much as you should. So you have to know even more than you should, just to prove that you know what you're doing when it comes to this situation. So that would be my guide in terms of being a woman realtor, and I think that's so far worked for me. I'm very careful the situations I find myself in, and I always make sure that I do my due diligence before I start dealing with a client.
You know, for me, my own experience had been that men don't trust women initially when it comes to property business, you know, because property by its very nature, property acquisition tends to be hefty in terms of the monetary valuation to acquire it. Then a lot of men are not comfortable discussing money with women.
Correct.
And big money.
Exactly.
So they go like,
do you understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, so they don't think it's big money. Exactly. For me, what has helped me is my background in law. With almost over close to 2 decades as a lawyer, it has helped me because I'm able to bring legal advice, you know, legal services, and merge it with the real estate service, whatever it is that I am rendering to the client. And I've also found out that having a deep and in-depth and sure knowledge of what you are saying, what you are selling, what you are offering, also helps the men folk to begin to respect you. As a woman, they start to respect your mind.
Yes.
You know, and I tell a lot of women, even at the training I had yesterday, for some young women, I said to them, and even when you're going for that business meeting, you have to look business-like.
Exactly.
You know, you can now still afford to look fashionable without looking cheap or without looking hot or sexy when you're going on a business trip.
Professional.
You know, yes, because you need to be professional. You need to speak. You can't go and say, you know. I tell them, yes, I say all that to them. Already, you're disadvantaged because you're a woman.
Exactly.
Yes, but in the long run, I found out that the men prefer to deal with the women when they know that you know what you're doing.
Talking about.
Again, you know why? it's easier for the men to deal with lady realtors because they feel that we are women. What are we doing with money? When it comes to commission, you won't be a very hard negotiator.
I hope they find that different with you.
Okay, I will just dash you money. They're not going to tell somebody like your father that.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what the men do.
Exactly.
But again, it has helped them also build some trust. Of course, when it will be cheaper for them, or I don't need to pay the maximum fee and stuff for the stuff like that.
Exactly.
So it's like that, quite a couple of them, you know. But the more the reason why we encourage a lot of women to get into the real estate sector, you know, not just, when I say real estate, it's just not just for you to be an agent.
Exactly.
You are a valuer, you know,
Exactly.
I'm a lawyer, somebody else is doing interiors,
Exactly.
somebody else is an architect. Is that the more women who have active roles in the real estate sector, the more they'll be able to appreciate real estate.
Exactly.
And when they appreciate real estate, they'll be able to buy.
Exactly.
And I find out that oftentimes, when our men are no longer there, whether it's our fathers or our husbands, who really protects us?
Exactly.
You keep hearing incidences of when the husband passed, his people descended on the property, they pushed out of the home, all kinds of sorry stories. And look at what happened to the gender equalization bill. Don't you think that all this should make women to gear up and try to invest in real estate themselves? Not waiting for somebody to die before you become a landlady. Not waiting for a child you bettered to grow up before buying for you.
Exactly.
Do you think that more women should actually embrace real estate acquisition themselves?
Definitely. More women. Look, I think the bedrock of society is women. Yeah, at the end of the day, for me, the leaders are raised by women. You know, most of the times in growing up, you're raised by your mother, you know, someone maternal at the end of the day. So I think we're so powerful, we don't realize it. A lot of times it looks like women are waiting for power to be given to them. I think women need to take this power, because they already have it. It's just about implementing or acknowledging that I have this power and I can go forth and do, you know, this thing. So definitely we have a part to play. Women definitely need to stand up and sit up and say, what can I do to protect myself? I'm one of 4 daughters. I have 2 daughters as well. So I'm also very passionate about promoting the woman cause. I think a lot of the problems we've had as women is because we also have not looked at how to protect ourselves. You know, it almost looks like we need someone to protect us. So we don't go about actively trying to protect ourselves. But that is biblical.
It's their job to protect us.
Yes,
it's in the Bible.
I quite agree. But, you know, even in the Bible, the Proverbs 21 woman is a smart woman. You know, she's an investor as far as I'm concerned. She's a businesswoman.
The Proverbs, the virtuous woman.
Exactly.
She
so I think
considered a field and bought it from her earnings.
Thank you. So, you know, because I think in as much as you've rightly said, they protect us, but we don't realize that she can be industrious, she can be a property owner, and she can be, and you know, when you have wealth, you can do a whole lot of good. I think part of the problem we also have generally is also that we don't have a lot of women in government, in powerful situations, because I think as women, we may have more empathy to situations and say, this is the right thing to do. We can't, you understand, I mean, I can't walk away and say that I can't sleep well knowing that I can have my family, someone with kids, a husband and wife. You know, I feel like for men, someone's like, everybody will be fine. But as a woman, you can't, it's difficult for you to see a situation and say, can I walk away from this knowing that a family can be impacted? Because you know what happens at home. The husband is not always aware. It's like my house is running it. So we should be running our own lives as such. Our own empire, for me, it's our empire. Women need to take charge of their own empire. You need to start doing that now.
How do your male counterparts treat you? Do they treat you any differently when you go for meeting, when it comes to splitting of fees, when it comes to negotiation, whether it is fellow estate agents, fellow estate valuers? Do they treat you any different, whether by gender or by issue of age?
Yes, they do.
Why? How do they treat you?
A lot of times. Like you already said, some of them sometimes think, oh, but your husband is taking care of you. Do you need this money?
But you've worked, but you don't need the money because the husband is jokes.
Exactly. I'm like,
interesting.
Exactly. Do you need this money? Is it not husband not taking care of you? My husband is taking care of me, but he respects and honors me because he knows I can earn my wage as well, and a good wage, not minimum wage. So I've done as much work as you have. So in fact, if anything, you should tell me I'm a woman, I have tried. So you give me more.
Did they give you more?
No, but at least I try as much as possible. I get my equal share, you know. That sometimes so I come into a negotiation, I've worked with some of my colleagues that are incidentally bigger than me. I'm quite small for my age, and it's almost like, where's your boss? And they're pointing to me, and it's like, Where? Like, yes, this young lady here is our boss. Oh, okay. So what does this woman have to offer? And then, so it's usually like that at the beginning. I must say it's often like that sometimes. But over a while, you build credibility, you build trust, and then, look, this person is not going to agree. Let's play fair, because you cannot pull the wool over this woman's eyes. So
let's talk about succession in the real estate business. We hear about the big giants, the Knight Frank and Rotley, the Jide Taiwo, the Dawodu Shote, the Dia Fatimilehi. Increasingly, we've seen new people come on the block. You have Fine and Country, you have JLL that have come in recently. Now, you are this generation in a business that has been in your family for close to 40 decades. What are your plans?
So I am looking at the world market, I think, if I must be honest, because we all know it's a global village. There's no denying that now. So I'm trying to see how we can be more than just a small player in the industry. I'm looking international. I'm looking into partnerships. I'm looking at how we can be a much bigger brand, because one, it makes us more efficient, makes us effective. We can put our name out there, and then we can also deliver services probably at a better rate for our customers. In terms of succession planning in the industry, I must admit it's not looking too great from where I see it.
It's too fragmented.
It's too fragmented. I was still at the conference at Abuja, the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, and people are looking at me when I was saying, no, I'm sorry. I've come to a stage where I'm not sure I appreciate that everybody wants to go out and start their own. At what point do we have 10,000 of us and there are 10,000 institutions? Do you know there's power in numbers? It's just an issue of trust for me in terms of the Nigerian market now, why people are struggling to say, I don't want to work with someone else. So there's an issue of, how do I trust? How do I know? It's a risk. It's like marriage for me as well. It's just that, that in partnership, even like we said with the Bible, two are better than one, That's
Definitely.
why one is down, the other pulls up. But when the two of you are going great, you can be better. So for me, there's still a lot to be done in the industry. I see in the near future that the orientation is going to change, because as we begin to have dominant international players in our sector in the country, it will be obvious that you cannot continue to play small. You have to play in the big leagues.
You really must look at it.
Correct.
What are your plans? How do you intend to get more Nigerian women onto the property ladder? As a woman that is a real estate player, you're building a career in real estate. When you come across the regular Nigerian woman who has some means, who is earning something, and who haven't gotten onto the property ladder, what would your advice to her be?
So my advice to her would be, decide first and foremost that it is in your best interest to be a player in the real estate market. You need to be a part of it.
Can't she be a player in the real estate market by just being a good housewife and staying home, and Mr. Husband takes care of everything?
That was a few decades ago.
A few decades ago?
The scene has changed.
What's changing?
It's first education, because the more educated you are, the more aware you become. When you're rising up the corporate ladder, you're going for trainings and seminars, you're meeting your contemporaries in other parts of the continent and the world. The way they talk, what they're talking about, I own this, we do that, it begins to irk you that something's not quite right here. Why do I feel, even sometimes in conversations with some of your counterparts abroad, it's like, oh, my property, and you're looking at the lady, and my colleagues would be like, your property, or you mean your husband's property? I said, no, my husband has his, I have mine, don't you? So you're becoming more aware, the world is becoming smaller, and naturally you just know that something's got to change. And that's why I said you have to first decide that you want to play in this league. And you don't always have to start at the middle or the
In that decision, if I flip the coin, some men believe that if women are allowed to own their own homes, it would endanger their marriages. Do you agree in that?
I disagree.
A gentleman said to me, if you're asking women to buy properties, you're telling them they should go and own their own house so that tomorrow, when we misbehave, they will not tolerate our misbehavior again. That was his argument.
It's so sad. It's so sad. And I think what's worse is a lot of men do think that way. So it's not right. It's not correct. I don't think that's the right way to approach the situation. I don't think women go out of their way to say, I want to leave this home. You have a stake in it already.
Nobody wants to leave a marriage if you're happy in it.
Exactly.
Where I come from in Igbo land, they say that that A husband is the pride of a woman.
Exactly.
A woman is incomplete without a husband.
Exactly.
It's
And I find that it's like that for most women. For me, it's men who are insecure in themselves. You know, for me, a man should not lead by money alone. It is by his leadership.
It is
about how you're saying, there's no woman that has a man that is encouraging her to be better and will say, this is not where I want to be. That's the truth. It is when you think you need money as to show that you are the leader in the home, that is when the problem.
A man should not lead by money alone.
Not by money.
That's a good one. I'm going to tweet that. That's a very good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah, so
let's look at the issue of the different locations in Nigeria. Do you think certain areas of Nigeria is better for you to do real estate? Do you think Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt is better as against places like Akure, Ibadan, Enugu, and Owerri? What do you think the dynamics are? You know, where would you rather play as an agent? Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Owerri, or Abeokuta?
I think if we are honest, ideally, the urban centers are prime. That's the honest truth. You will find prices by virtue of the fact that it's an urban city. You know, you have roads, you have infrastructure, hospitals, schools, you have housing estates and whatnot. The value of property is better by virtue of its location to all of this. So it's always the markets in the urban areas are always bigger and better. But that's not to say that even the suburban areas are any less ideal for investment. In fact, sometimes that's your best bet because the way the world opens up, what you think is a rural area now, suburban area becomes the next urban town.
I totally agree with you because I had a friend of mine who got married and moved to Enugu, and she's also an estate agent, and she moved to Enugu and she was like, oh, what business is in Enugu? And 2-3 years after she went to Enugu, Enugu had an international airport, ShopRite came to Enugu, so many other international schools came to Enugu, so many things happening, and before you know it, all sorts of private developers and estates, and she says to me, if you see Enugu now, you will not recognize it. So a place that is not developed today, that is not prime today, can be prime tomorrow. We will continue when we return from a very short break. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to Taste Buds.
If you love food, then we've got you covered. Taste Buds, the show that takes you on a culinary adventure across the globe. Talented chefs and cooks give you an insight into delicious dishes that will get your taste buds tingling.
Oh, Lord.
Catch it Saturdays at 7 p.m. only on R2 TV.
You're welcome to another fantastic episode of Meet the Models. I am your host, Grace Akoba. I hope you've been enjoying the show so far. And as usual, I bring you supermodels from different parts of Nigeria.
My name is Bale Lawal.
My name is Brian Okwara.
My name is Abiolu Abusayomi.
My name is Melvin Odua.
My name is Charles Ujomo.
You guys did a good job. I mean, I don't think I'd have been able to change anything because everything, as you can see, spotless.
It was fun. I had fun because I'm comfortable in my skin. Ha! Cleopatra was here.
Dilhaji B was here, and I signed on your mannequin. Yeah. That's what's up.
Can you watch sexually educative videos with your spouse?
Like Yoruba people will say,
I really don't see such a big deal in it.
When you stick to your good at it, you make money out of it.
What are you telling me? We have problems now because of this, our exposure.
It's like they have an expiring date.
Okay.
They just on their own just got spots.
Why are you letting steam off? And I'm feeling the heat.
Because if you're talking about culture and Omar don't say anything because you dress like a white man all the time. Omar inspired this particular look, so we decided to make this statement.
So next time I'll carry calabash.
Yes.
They are the world's greatest mercenaries. The only life they've ever known.
Welcome back to the show. It's still the real estate circuit. My name hasn't changed. It's still Nonso Esq, okay? And Tolu Dima-Okojie is our guest and still in the studio with us. Tolu, interestingly, over the years, one had looked at real estate business as a male-dominated business. More and more women are coming up and doing very well in the sector. Some of them are even coming with international leading real estate brands and names, Remax, Fine & Country. So, I see a lot of women coming onto the business. So, having been in the business, what are the key characteristics and traits any woman who wants to venture into the real estate, whether you want to be a broker or whatever else you want to do, depending on your background or your passion, what are the key traits? What are the key characteristics? What are the key skills that any lady realtor needs to have to be able to make a success in the real estate sector?
Okay, I think we will first start with integrity. You know, real estate, we're talking about large capital outlay.
Yeah.
So one wants to know that when I give you this money, it is not going to go the wrong way. You know, so the first thing is integrity, because if you have no integrity, then I would say I wouldn't be comfortable, you know, dealing with you, because I'm not sure now if you can act on my behalf, in all honesty. So integrity first. I think the second thing also is knowledge, expertise and knowledge. You have to try to get knowledge in the area you're dealing with, because if you don't have understanding, then really what guidance can you give as a broker and whatnot? The third one I would say is professionalism, because there is no disputing that the more professional you are, the more you're seen as an authority. If you're, like you said, rightly said earlier, talking in a language or with an attitude or, you know, body language that seems to imply that you're not quite sure what you're saying, even when you are, you might disqualify yourself by so doing. So I think, and then management, how you're keeping accounts, records, how you're feeding back to the system. I think that's also very important, because your client wants to know, or anyone you're dealing with wants to know per time that you are keeping accounts and they know what's going on per time. So I think those would be the four things: integrity, professionalism, accountability. What was the fourth one? I can't remember now.
Integrity, accountability, professionalism,
and knowledge. Yes.
Yeah. What about technology? Because
yes.
the world is going global.
Yes,
what role does technology have to play in the role of in the sale or in the whatever the business of real estate today?
Too much. Yeah. Too much. I think as a country we're definitely not there yet, but in terms of even from the point of survey, where, you know, I have clients who get to a site and they can tell you right here they're checking coordinates and saying they're sending it to their boss in a different country, because, you know, they want to be sure that where they're trying to acquire is ideal in terms of proximity to their markets or to their suppliers or to their distributors, etc., and all that. So technology really plays a big part. We're really, you know, lagging behind there, because even in Nigeria, the penetration of smart market is good, but there's still a lot to be done. But people, especially the young generation now, they're really seeing how can this sector really leverage on technology. I have people tell me, can't we view this online? Can't we, do we really?
Yeah, send me pictures, where is it
so
online?
It's really going
a lot
long
of things
way.
that we don't do yet.
Exactly.
You know, if you go to jurisdictions like in America and what have you, they even use videos.
Exactly.
To
communicate,
to sell.
This is the look and feel, because sometimes pictures can't
like a video show, a run through the apartment and what have you. I watched one that was so beautifully put together, quiet music and the video going from the foyer, the entrance, everywhere. I didn't know it was a real estate video, marketing video. I was waiting to see the people inside the house. I didn't see anything. The camera went all through and everywhere, all the parts, bathroom, kitchen, and when it came out, it just finished with 1091 Madison Avenue. Oh my God. It was so compelling. I was like, really? So video marketing, yes.
Exactly.
So I think there's just so much that we have to do.
Exactly.
In terms of, again, as a woman, networking.
Yes,
what do you think about networking as a real estate agent?
Definitely very important. And that's why I think in terms of how you've carried yourself from the beginning, what really happens with real estate for me is that once you've done a great job somewhere, someone wants to refer you. And then I think as a woman, we don't understand the power of asking for a referral. We feel, I don't want to, you know, look like I'm begging
forward
or whatnot. No, you cannot do that because that's what men do. You know, a lot of women don't understand. I tell them when a man is going out, he's telling you he's going to this event or this, he's networking, he's meeting, he's making business cards. I mean, there was, I think, a session I went for personal development where they said, even in salons, women don't know how powerful that tool is. How many of us are going to salons where we should be exchanging cards and communicating and saying, what do you do? This is what I do. But it's almost like you sit and you're stern-faced. But men will walk into that same environment and they will shake hands and, you know, they will introduce themselves and they say, oh, this is what you do. I know someone there. Let me have your card. Let me have your number. We'll have drinks. And they're going forward. I think that's one of the areas women don't do very strongly with. Even outside the real estate sector, we do not leverage the network of the platform of network, other women, even in real estate and outside, and even colleagues, everybody generally. We don't do a good job of it.
Thank you so much, Tolu, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great pleasure having you. I wish you tremendous luck and success in real estate in Nigeria. I know it's not going to be easy, but I will always be there, and we at the Lady Realtors will always be there and rooting for you, you know, and we completely wish you the best. Let me have a take on women in real estate and women generally, property ownership in Nigeria. I feel that it's an issue that has to be addressed. First of all, I feel that the girl child is disadvantaged when it comes to property inheritance in Nigeria. Most parents, fathers, mothers, when they do their will or when they pass on, often tend to will everything to the male child. Your daughter is just as strong and as powerful as your son. They are both children from you. The same upbringing you have given the boy, you have given the girl. Your blood runs in their veins. There is no reason, and it is totally unfair and unjust, to deny a child, by reason of her gender, a part of your inheritance. Secondly, the discrimination continues, even as she grows up in life. Religion, culture tells her, or often advocates that she's not supposed to own a piece of land herself, even when it is entrenched in the Bible, who is a virtuous woman. By virtue of marriage, a woman is often seen that if you own your own property, that you're going against the directive of God, society, marriage. It is not so. While we know that the Bible and society expects that our men will care for us, our men are also human and mortal. Fathers die, husbands die or they separate, sons go bad or they don't live up to their responsibility. Oftentimes, the women are the ones left out in the cold. It is your lot as a father, as a husband, as a son, to make sure that the women in your life, mother, wife, sister, daughter, is encouraged to play in the property sector, to own even if it is 1 square meter. You must not will to her, but you can teach her how valuable it is for her to get onto the property ladder. Until same time next week, we ask you, do you have a daughter? Make sure you have her on the property ladder. Either you give it to her or you teach her how to acquire it yourself. Till same time next week, my name is Nonso, and the girl child is a child too. Bye-bye.